George Ciccarone.
George Ciccarone.
Well, George Ciccarone. So we sent George Ciccarone undercover.
Well, we called George Ciccarone.
What is your name?
George.
You look good for the team picture, George.
Mr. Clinton, don't worry about your socks.
What do you mean?
People at home can't see that.
All right, George. Good luck out there.
Thank
You be
you.
careful.
Thank you. We'll see you later.
George Ciccarone.
George is one of our busiest, certainly our most intrepid reporter.
Ciccarone, how many outs are there? Come on, son, wake up here now. Get in the ball game. Your mind's drifting. You're out in La La Land.
And George Ciccarone has been looking into it. He's gone to Swinney Switch, Texas.
Ciccarone stands in against a pitching legend.
Very special story.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thanks very much, George.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
George, there's only one person can be hurt by this.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor.
In a nice, peaceful Portland, Oregon community, what would make once neighborly neighbors behave like this? And this? And this?
Could you be mine?
This is Ed Dakota, an area welder, and this is Jim Spag, a local eccentric cable TV host. Again, what would cause such mean-spirited athletic activity between two grown men?
Well, a woman. This woman.
Only Jim's girlfriend delivered him the ultimate blow when she moved out of his house and in with Ed, the neighbor next door. Jim claimed his somewhat soggy neighbor roughed him up, so he built an addition onto his home to house his home video camera.
Well, after that, things around the old side yard fence, shall we say, got a bit lively.
Would you be mine?
Hey, not bad, not bad.
Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor?
Oh, we got me the shoulder. Hey, you sappy If he has a First Amendment right to say he'll kick my ass, well, then I can certainly tell him I think he's a dirty, rotten, low-down, low-class ball, you see?
He's actually kind of a miserable old man.
Aren't neighbors supposed to lean over the fence and kind of talk and chat and
sure,
borrow sugar?
sure.
What are you guys doing here?
He wanted to be too good of a neighbor for me, I guess. He wanted to take care of my woman, but he took too good a care of her.
But most of what Jim captured on tape, according to his attorney, was two men behaving like children.
We're dealing with a couple of lunatics. That's the bottom line. Both these guys are crazy.
I don't again. Get lost!
All he wanted to do is drag me down to his level, and God forbid, from time to time, I stooped. But I won't do it now. I won't do it anymore.
And there he is.
And if he would leave me alone, I'd be more than glad to leave him alone.
Forget it! I'm not yours anymore!
Oh, sure. I still love her, and she still loves me. We're good friends, you see? Hey, how do you like being my neighbor, Eddie? Are we good neighbors?
Is he egging me on, or is he egging me on?
Well, eventually, things got a bit nasty, and neighbor Ed gave neighbor Jim a couple of punches, captured on camera.
Ooh, that has to hurt.
Yeah, he punches me sincerely. He's a very sincere puncher.
Well, Jim thought he had his evidence and proceeded to sue Ed for $65,000.
Now, we'd like to show you what Jim did next, but believe me, we wouldn't dare. According to Jim's lawyer, Jim broadcast some intimate acts of love that he once shared with his former girlfriend, a home video camera, and now all of Portland. Well, the jury got a look at that, deliberated for a while, and came back and awarded Jim's Fist of Fury neighbor, remember him? $125,000 in damages.
So Jim not only temporarily lost his show, but his girl and $125,000. And neighbor Ed lost his girl, or was it Jim's girl? Anyway, she moved out. But one thing neither neighbor has lost is their reputation of being two of the most controversial members of this community.
Please won't you be my neighbor?
Happy noodles.
George Ciccarone has their really moving story of their efforts to make it happen.
Well, you know, this is the time of year where parents, as you well know, are scrambling to make those last-minute gifts and fulfill dreams. But for Barbara and Joe Saltzman, the gift that they're busy giving away this year began with a wish their youngest son made just before he died.
What I loved most about David was his laugh, his smile, and his hugs. They were just warm and wonderful.
David Saltzman always wanted to be a writer, a cartoonist.
He also hopes to start a career as an author and illustrator of children's books.
But David never had that chance. 8 months after his college graduation, David died of Hodgkin's disease. But while battling the cancer, he was inspired to write a touching children's story of a jester who set out to find laughter and happiness, and ironically found it hiding within the heart of a sick child.
Sometimes I feel like crying too, the jester whispered in her ear. We would not let the book die with David. We promised him that the book would be published and that it would be given free to children who most needed it, children who were diagnosed with cancer and had other special needs, who really needed to find their smiles.
After his death, his parents set out to fulfill their promises. Told by publishers it was too long and too costly to reproduce, they mortgaged their home and published the book themselves. 2 years after losing David, his book, The Jester Has Lost His Jingle, was finally published, true to their son's vision. But that's not the end of the story. Nope, not by a long shot. Something happened then that no one really expected. Apparently, David's words of hope and inspiration struck a tender nerve with America, and his book became a huge hit.
They looked everywhere that laughter might hide.
The book is now in about 2,000 schools and in its 5th printing with 300,000 copies in circulation. It also made several bestseller lists and has earned praise from educators who say its spirit and message hits home.
That there's laughter inside everybody and that you just need to let it out and let it flow.
The Jester Has Lost His Jingle posted to the New York Times bestseller list. It posted on David's birthday. We always felt there was some very special meaning in that.
You saved the day!
And true to their second promise, Barbara visits children's hospitals about twice a month to read her son's witty words of hope and hand out copies of the book. On this day, she was joined by baseball great Rod Carew, who knows all too well what it's like to search for laughter. He too lost his 18-year-old daughter, Michelle, to cancer.
With sadness, there's always happiness at the end of the rainbow.
You just, need to look anywhere you can for something to smile about, and when you do, you hold on to it.
Barbara Saltzman finds comfort in knowing that David found strength within the whimsical character he created, and knows his words will live on to teach, enrich, and touch the hearts of children everywhere.
I turn my sadness upside down and stand it on its head.
When I get sad or lonesome, or when I get depressed, that's when I sing my loudest and dance my very best. That passage, to me, sums up what David was all about. This is a book you'll be reading to your grandchildren, and it's something that's going to last forever.
Now, keep in mind, no one is getting rich off this book quite yet. David's family is still about a couple $100,000 in debt, but they say at this point it really doesn't matter because they've already gotten their payback, because literary scholars around the country are saying that this book is destined eventually to become a children's classic, and they're very proud.
Oh, what a great story.
At the annual Mayor's Conference in Houston this past summer, not every mayor was able to attend. For example, the mayor of the tiny West Texas town of Lajitas, well, he couldn't make it because, well, let's just say he was tied up.
We have a goat for a mayor. I mean, why not?
The goat for the people.
Clay Henry Jr. here really is the legal mayor of Lajitas, Texas. You see, a few months back, the former mayor saddled up and headed for Houston. Only before he left, he enacted a little-known town ordinance and named Clay Henry Jr. as the new mayor, which of course made big news in this small town.
Clay Henry Jr. has become our interim mayor and probably will be our mayor forever, since no election date has been set, and he's the only one who can call the election since he's the mayor.
But it gets even better. Clay Henry's dad ran for mayor a few years back and lost, but still remained in politics.
He was appointed the commissioner.
But Clay Henry Sr. passed away, never knowing of his son's achievements, a goat who never had the chance to gloat. But, oh well.
Massachusetts has the Kennedys, and here in Lajitas and South Brewster County we have the Henrys.
So as you can see, for the most part, Clay Henry Jr. has been accepted by the town. But not unlike other political figures we've seen, it wasn't too long before the good people here realized that their new mayor had some vices of his own.
I wouldn't call it a vice.
He likes his beer. A lot.
It appears Clay Henry, aside from being the only legally appointed goat mayor, also downs long necks faster than a frat boy. No, not a political prerequisite, but something he too inherited from his dad.
You have a history of political beer-drinking goats, a dynasty.
Yes, really, really. This is Clay Henry Jr. is carrying on the family tradition.
Although Clay Henry still does his mayoring duties, attending ribbon-chewing ceremonies and all that, still, just what kind of example does he set for the youngins?
He is a very well-behaved gentleman about his beer drinking, and he knows when he's had enough. And he stops drinking at that point.
Now, if you're wondering if the mayor's habits are good for him or not, well, they say he's as healthy as a horse. Jeez.
Well, his father lived to be 22 years old, so it really couldn't have hurt him too much to be a beer drinker.
So, since legally no one can kick him out of office, I guess Clay Henry will remain the political party animal he is.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
And around here, that's not too bad. It might not look it, but Oregon authorities say this woman is running one of the biggest illegal cat houses in the country. And of all people, Bo Derek is coming to her defense.
I hope that nothing, bad comes of all this.
Say here, kitty kitty, to Babe, a beautiful 400-pound tiger who shares the home of former Hollywood actress Dee Arlen.
Here's your teddy. Play with your teddy.
For the past 8 years, Dee, Babe, and Scotty here have peacefully coexisted in her Grants Pass, Oregon home. That is until accidentally spooked by our cameraman.
That's what they tried to say. Yes. Well, there went a few things. Yes, she says, well, now I want my mama to just scratch me. That's what I like, just that scratching.
But this former actress's next role will be in front of a county judge to decide if she and Babe can continue their living arrangement.
I never bothered anybody. I don't drink and smoke. I don't go anywhere. And I see no reason for them to have me for their scapegoat.
You see, the problem began last October when Babe escaped through a damaged fence. When word got out that a tiger was on the loose, just about everyone from around these parts who's ever seen a Rambo movie grabbed a rifle and headed out to the hunt.
It hurt very much because I knew that they were chasing her.
After several false sightings, Babe meekly returned home. But now the cat was out of the bag, so to speak, as Dee was charged with harboring an exotic pet without a permit. But worse than that, Babe may now have to go.
If I have to, I'll put her down. But I won't let somebody have her and mistreat her or sell her by a pound.
Word of Dee's dilemma has spread back to her Hollywood roots. Here in Santa Ynez, California, right up the road from Michael Jackson's place, Bo Derek says she's committed to helping out her longtime friend.
There are some people who live for their animals, and I don't think they live very well without them, if at all.
Oh, Babe, now you behave. You don't act like that just 'cause somebody's here.
So for now, there's not much good news to report. Dee is heartbroken. The animal control guys say their hands are tied. Matter of fact, the only good thing to come out of this whole mess so far is that I got to meet Bo Derek.
She's given up everything for her tiger.
Now they want to take him away.
Yeah, no, that'd be really a shame.
So Dee awaits her upcoming court date, hoping that she won't have to say goodbye to the most important and loyal friend in her life.
Now my little story has come to the end. I guess you know which neighbor I value as a friend.
Dan Lawrence is a DJ on his way to work at the local radio station. He's got a good job, a new button on his audio board to replace that old sticky one, some new old 60s CDs, but one thing Dan doesn't have is a voice.
I am Digital Dan, the DJ with the chip, and yes, I am a real person.
Dan's real all right, but his voice isn't. You see, he speaks through this voice synthesizer. He types it in here, and it comes out here.
I let my fingers do the talking.
Digital Dan is the first DJ in the country without a voice.
Okay, now back to some music.
Dan was diagnosed with cancer back in 1993 and had his vocal cords removed, along with some of his dreams.
One day a wind blows, and nothing is ever the same again. This is so true that it hurts.
Dan had to give up his love of acting in the local theater group and any possibility of ever attaining so many of his dreams, including becoming a DJ.
It was like having the rug pulled out from under me.
Dan was a carpenter here in town, and after doing some work at the local radio station, the managers there noticed something, that this man who could not speak really had so much to say.
It's what you have inside that counts, what comes from the heart.
So this man without a voice actually went on the air, and the response was overwhelming.
He says it the way it is. So.
He doesn't sound like a real disc jockey, does he?
But that's Dan.
Nights in white satin.
His heart comes through in his message, and it's like that with Dan. He reaches out and touches people.
So Digital Dan has made radio history. Granted, it's not the big time, as the station sits above the local pump house, and the neighbors tend to get a bit restless. But Dan sends a poignant message through his silence that those who listen will hear for the rest of their lives.
I guess the best lesson is when you think you are lost, something happens and you are found again. I feel that if you swim in a pool of pity, you are bound to drown. So in closing, remember, dare to dream, for the dreams of today are the realities of tomorrow. Thanks for listening.
That could be your goodbye, right?
My goodness.
That is really moving.
What an inspiring story.
Really moving.
Jim, here in Petersburg, Virginia, authorities don't take kindly to reckless drivers, especially those who choose to drive without a driver's license. Boy, they really hate that. That's why they threw the book at one young man who was convicted of doing both, even though his lawyer says otherwise.
The evidence will show that Mr. von Frankenberger is clearly innocent.
Mr. von Frankenberger, these are some very serious charges. Did you do what they said you did?
No! No! No!
I guess you'd be upset too if all of a sudden, after a hard day on the swing, your mom receives 2 notices saying you're a fugitive and ordered to pay fines totaling $150. Well, that's just what happened to 2-year-old Eric here.
Don't you think this is crazy?
Yeah, I do. He can't even talk.
Apparently someone using a lost license hard luck story and little Eric's name and social security number was stopped along Virginia's Interstate 95. When cops called in the ID, no warrants came back. After all, the real Eric von Frankenberger hasn't had too many run-ins with the law, what being only 2 in all.
He was framed. He's been found guilty of reckless driving and driving with no license, which of course he doesn't have a license.
He doesn't have a license?
No, not in Virginia.
Little Eric was allegedly going 79 in a 55 zone, and I think we'll be able to convince the judge that he couldn't even pedal that fast.
The stress has taken its toll on little Eric as well, who feels this whole mess is just a bunch of caca. Mom says he doesn't use his little car nearly as much as he used to, lets his friend do most of the driving, and a neighbor even slapped on this bumper sticker, just in case. Couldn't hurt.
He's innocent.
Eric spiffed up with a brand new suit his mom bought him for this little man's big day in court. And little advice, Eric. Let Mom drive, okay?